Good morning. Welcome to the pre-meeting of the Newark Municipal Council on Tuesday, February 4th, 2025. Council President, council members, I'd like to start on pending business on page 35. We have an appointment to the Newark Parking Authority. Ms. Stephanie Matthews, are you in the audience? Please step to the podium. Thank you.
Good morning, Ms. Matthews.
Good morning, everyone. Good
Do
morning,
you have
all
an
members.
opening statement you'd like to make?
Yes, briefly. I'm Stephanie Matthews. I'm a lifelong resident of Newark. I'm a mother of two who grew up in the Newark system. Today, I want to thank everybody for considering my nomination for the Newark Parking Authority. I'm particularly interested in the development of Newark infrastructure and economic development, and I think that my analytical and problem-solving skills will bring a new perspective to the Newark Parking Authority. And I just wanted to, again, say thank you to everybody for considering my nomination.
Thank you. Any comments, questions? Councilman, council.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, I'd like to congratulate Ms. Matthews and also like to sponsor.
Second.
Sponsored by Councilman Council, second by Councilwoman Scott Roundtree. Anybody else have any?
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations, Ms.
Thank
Matthews.
you.
Congratulations.
We are on page 3 of the agenda. Item 5 is reports and recommendations of city officers, boards, and commissions.
Any questions? Seeing none, next item.
Public hearing, second reading, and final passage. 6P SFA is an ordinance granting a 30-year tax abatement to 40 Austin Street Urban Renewal Company LLC for a project to construct a new 5-story building with a total of 43 market rate residential rental units in the East Ward.
Any questions? Seeing none, next item.
B through E are all ordinances amending multi-way stop intersections in the Central Ward. B is between 15th Avenue and South 13th Street. C is 16th Avenue and South 11th Street. D is 15th Avenue and Littleton Avenue. And E is 15th Avenue and South 11th Street.
Any questions from the council? Seeing none, next item.
Second reading and final passage only. A, an ordinance amending and supplementing registration of convenience stores. Registration of all new and pre-existing convenience stores to create a subsection prohibited distance from existing convenience stores and to further include the increasing of fines and penalties set forth therein under violations and penalty. Sponsored by Councilman Council, second by Councilwoman Scott Roundtree.
Mr. Chair,
Councilman Council.
I know there was some discussion earlier or some other concerns about definition and makeup when clearly the ordinance has a clear, intentional and specific definition of what a convenience store is. And I'm just looking for guidance from my council colleagues that if they want to change that definition to provide some information on what they believe the definition of a convenience store is or should be, to provide it. But if not, really to support this ordinance for the growth and development of this city, as the city continues to grow, as we continue to grow in population and people, and need diversity amongst our corridors and areas for stores and for residents to be able to have access to good commerce and different and diverse commerce. I think the ordinance in of itself is not difficult. It doesn't talk about penalizing any stores that are already in place. It really just simply says any new or newly constructed businesses. So any other business that is currently out there would be grandfathered in. Had an opportunity to speak with the licensing folks. Hopefully, if they come in today or tomorrow, can be able to clear up that there is no issue around ensuring spattle distance in these places. But as colleagues and people of this city, I really want us to begin to think about the longitudinal direction that we go in terms of growth and development and adding residents in the city, living along our corridors, being interested in coming out and sharing in commerce and participating in free market and enterprise in a different way. And so, really, we have to begin to think, do we want to provide our residents that live along these corridors in these areas with different opportunities to shop, with different stores that may come in, and also begin to provide some spatial difference to make that possible. And so, again, I'm just rendering this, and I'm gonna continue to wrap my arm around this for thought, for speculation, and more importantly, for growth and development of the city.
Thank you, Councilman Council. Anything from other council members? Seeing none, next item.
Resolutions. 7R1A is authorizing the use of competitive contracting to award contract for code enforcement third-party inspection services.
Any comments, questions from the council? Seeing none, next item.
7R1B through K are temporary emergency appropriations. B is for the Home Investment Partnership Program. C is for Homelessness Housing Grant. D is for Brick City Peace Collective Grant. E is for Fire Trucks and Equipment Program. F is for Ryan White HIV/AIDS-related health and support services. G is for Safe Streets and Roads for All. H is New Jersey Victim of Crime Act Grant. I is to improve New Jersey's air quality. J is to Assistance to Firefighters Grant. And K is Assistance to Firefighters Grant.
Mr. Chair.
Any questions, Councilman Council?
I'm not sure if someone is here from engineering around the safe streets component, but if they can come up and just give a little background about what it is. I know I've sat on some phone calls about it, and would just love for the public to be able to understand what it is.
Great.
Because
I believe we have the Director of Engineering coming forward.
Good morning, Dolores Martinez Wood, I'm the Department
Morning.
of Engineering Director, Council President, Council members. This is for 7R1G, correct? The Safe Streets for All is a opportunity for us to apply for grant funding for many pedestrians and vehicular safety measures. We were unsuccessful last year for the Safe Streets grant, but we were awarded the opportunity to utilize funds for a plan similar to Newark 360, to have like a 10-year plan for the city. In this case, it will be a plan for the next application for the Safe Streets for All. You're gonna see in the 7.3R items, the supplementary item that goes to it. This is the portion that the city is asked to provide as part of the project. The grant overall, it was a $1 million grant. $800,000 are coming into the city, and we have to put $200,000.
Thank you, Director. Any follow-up questions? Seeing none, thank you. Anything else, council members? 7R1A through 7R1K.
K.
Seeing none, next item.
7R1L through R are state contracts or bid contracts for the Office of Purchasing. L is equipment and supplies. M is cloud solutions. N is protective clothing and footwear. O is per diem staffing. P is tree planting and maintenance. Q is tree procurement. And R is maintenance and repair trucks.
Any questions, concerns from the council? Seeing none, next item.
7R1S through U are applications and/or acceptance of grant funds. S is for the Homeless Housing Grant. T is the Brick City Peace Collective Grant. And U is grant funding to aid reduction in emissions.
Any questions from the council?
Yeah, Mr. President.
Councilman Ramos.
Yeah, I want to go back to the contract for the tree services. Can we get something from the administration in terms of, the scope of service for the two vendors that are on the agenda today? And more importantly, is there a list that they're working off of for, requests for trimming, removal of stumps? I know we've been getting a lot of calls over the years about stump removals, and, I'm not sure where that is within the city's purchasing area, but we definitely need to get an update from the administration in terms of where we are. And if we can get like a breakdown by ward as far as uh, inspections or trimming that are in the queue, like requests that are in the queue, that would be helpful.
Duly noted.
Thank you, Councilman Ramos. Anything else? Councilman Kelly.
Thank you, Council President. I want that same request that Councilman Ramos is asking for. We have a lot of different tree situations in the West Ward. I think Mr. Cole has been doing a great job, but I also, we have a lot of requests for stump removal in the West Ward. So, yeah, I would like that information as well.
Duly noted.
And particularly, so the council members have asked for the scope of services as well as the breakdown of, if there is a breakdown of how the maintenance is spread across the wards.
Got it.
Is that correct, Council? I don't want to just miss that. That's good. Okay.
You covered it, you're good.
All right. Next item.
7R1V is execution of a labor agreement regarding the school traffic guards.
Any questions?
Mr. President,
Yep. Councilman Ramos.
these are crossing guards, right?
Yes. Yes.
Can we get from the administration a summary of how many vacancies we have and what posts around the city are not covered at this point? I know occasionally we get calls from principals from various schools about, posts that are not covered. And hopefully the contract before us is going to help the city strengthen its position to recruit more and more school crossing guards. Eric, do you know how many vacancies right now? No? Okay. Just get that to us when you can.
All right, duly noted. Any other questions, concerns? Next item.
7R2A through C are private sale redevelopment agreements. A is provide new construction of a two-family dwelling to sell at market rate in the South Ward.
Mr. Chair, I'm going to ask that this item be deferred.
I think, Councilman Council, before we go to anything, do you have something?
Yeah, I just want to,
Mr. Beer.
if I could, Eric Pennington, Business and Smith Administrator, Council President, just want to take the opportunity to follow up a little bit with Councilman Ramos's question regarding the crossing guards. This agreement actually increased their salaries pretty extensively. They are one of the lowest paid groups in the city, and if it was at a full-time rate, they would have been less than the city's minimum of $40,000 per year. So as effective as of November of last year, they're going up to $19.36 an hour. And beginning this year, it's been increased about 10% over that in 1 year to $21.36. That is because during negotiations, we received information about what the payment was for surrounding communities and the fact that it essentially was not really a living wage. We still have, it's still part-time, but it's like a split shift. So it makes it difficult for those workers to have other employment. And that's why this increase was as much as it was. In terms of the vacancies of posts and how many are out there, I don't know that, but I'll get that information to you. But I think the increase should be celebrated. The union did a very good job in bringing information to the administration's attention that made it meaningful, and it made it sort of obligatory on our part to try to match the appropriate salaries.
Thank you, Eric.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. BA. All right, 7R2A, I believe Councilman Council had a comment or question?
Yeah, just asking for a deferral.
Okay. Deferred by Councilman Council's the second. Second by Councilman Kelly.
B is an agreement to subordinate the city right of reverter by entering to the First Amendment to the Agreement for the Sale and Redevelopment of Land and a Subordination Agreement in order to permit the redeveloper to obtain financing necessary for the rehabilitation of property to create an East Ward affordable housing program.
Any questions from the council? Seeing none, next item.
C is new construction of 3 two-family homes to sell at market rate in the West Ward.
Any questions from the council?
No, we're gonna.
Go forward. All right, seeing none, next item.
D is to authorize the execution of a deed restrictive home affordable housing agreement with 449 Washington Street Urban Renewal Company LLC for the construction of a new residential affordable housing building that will consist of 10 affordable rental units in the Central Ward.
Any questions from the council? Can we get the deputy mayor just to come up and give a brief explanation on this matter?
Good morning, Council President, council members. Allison Ladd, Director of Economic and Housing Development. This is one of several projects that was competitively selected through the solicitation for home funds. I know that at a previous meeting, Councilmember Ramos asked for a list of the projects and the status that have been provided home funds over the years, and we were able to provide that some weeks back. And we're happy to resend that if that helps the council as they make this decision. This item here is actually exciting for us because we're going to be able to build new residential affordable housing. It'll be 10 affordable housing units, and the funding is home funds.
Thank you. Is this Lincoln Park?
No,
Or-
sir. This is
No?
no. It's a different developer. It's
Okay.
actually. Bear with me one second. I believe this one is Jamila Muhammad, but I will triple check that. And she's been a woman-led, minority-owned company that's been doing a lot of development in our city. But I will verify that for you.
All right, thank you.
President, if I may.
Councilman Gonzalez.
How do we determine the amount per unit that we are, let's say, going to award? In this case, 10 units and they get $1 million. Suppose that I come with a project for 100 units, affordable. Can I get 10 million?
Sure, Council President, council members, great question. So when we release the solicitation for home funds or other funding sources, we actually have the parameters that have to be met. So for instance, one, it can't be more than 80% of the area median income. Two, it'll say the percentage that we're willing to fund. Often the percentage that we're willing to fund for a project is 50% or less of a unit. And I will get you that number also through follow-up, and happy to explain it tomorrow as well. And then finally, it's based upon the funds that are available for that round. And then if we're able, we try to fund as many units as possible, but it is done competitively, and we do select based upon scoring.
This, that's not a theoretical case. It's that somebody asked me how much money the city can contribute if I build 100 units affordable. And I suppose it depends on how much money you have and how that money is distributed towards all the projects that would qualify.
Yes, Council President, yes, to that question. We do have often more applications than funds available. And so we do go through this competitive scoring process to ensure that we're able to select the projects that best meet the needs for the city. We also look at the diversity of projects and try to have projects also throughout the city, so in all wards. And what I will do is, I'm sorry, I don't have it for you right now, but I can give you the actual solicitation that we released that will delineate everything that I just explained.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
I think that would be great to have.
Yes, sir, I'd be happy to do
Councilman
that.
Ramos.
Yeah, one quick question. Do you have any money that's repaid back to the city that's available through the home program? Like if a developer were to sell a particular project that we invested home funds in, like I know at the county, we typically get repayment money back in the pool. And then we're able to include that with our allocation.
Sure. Council President, to Councilmember Ramos's question, I do not know the answer, but I can get that for you.
Okay.
Be happy to.
Something you should look at if you don't have it.
Yeah, it's a great question. I do know in previous work that I've done in other jurisdictions, we had similar practice whereby funds could be returned to the jurisdiction and then we could reallocate them with the current entitlement amount. So I'll look into that and be happy to provide that to you.
Thank you, Director.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Councilman Kelly, you wanted, I think we're finished with that. but-
Yeah, we're finished.
Actually, let's do one thing and then go, before Deputy Mayor leaves. I know we have the next item, 7R2E. I was going to ask for an explanation on that one too.
Sure. At this time, Council President?
Yeah, oh, I'm sorry. I jumped the gun over the
Oh,
clerk speaking and
Okay.
everything. I
I'm
just,
sorry.
7R2E is authorizing local board application in connection with the issuance of redevelopment area bonds that involves the construction of 81 residential units, which shall be comprised of 65 market rate residential rental units and 16 affordable housing rental units in the Central Ward.
Council President, Council Members, Allison Ladd, Director of Economic and Housing Development. This item that we're speaking about, authorizing the application to the Local Finance Board, is a companion piece to item under Communications, page 32, which is an ordinance that's securing RAB bonds as well as a tax abatement. And so they're companion pieces. The project itself is located at 20 Bramford. The developer is Paramount Assets. The project as described by Madam Clerk is correct, and we're glad that we're able to bring an IZO compliant project to the council. It will have on-site affordable that meets the IZO requirements. And second, the RAB bond that we're asking for you to consider is $500,000, and that amount will be used to pay for infrastructure, specifically water and sewer improvements that need to be provided. The total amount of water and sewer expense is about 1.8 million. This will cover about 500,000.
Thank you. Councilman Gonzalez.
Is this the project where an entity is going to use the first floor free of charge for 30 years?
Yes, Council. Benefits that the developer is providing to the project is to provide an organization no-cost rental space.
And what was the rate that the city is going to be collecting on this project for 30 years?
Yes, sir. I believe, if I understood correctly, Council President, your question, Councilmember Gonzalez, was about the taxes that we
The
would
tax.
generate. Thank you for the question. So the current taxes that are collected are about $15,212. The amount that we expect to receive at stabilization is $103,845.
And the tax abatement rate is 5%, I understand on that one.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Council President.
Councilman Kelly had something.
Yeah, I want to go back to 7R2V, to 7R2R1V and sponsor that, please.
7R1B as in boy.
V as in.
Oh, V as
Is
in,
it Benfica one?
all right. V as in Victor, the labor agreement. Okay.
Said V or V?
V as in Victor.
Victor.
All right. Councilman Kelly wants to sponsor. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Councilman Gonzalez. All right. All right.
I would like to sponsor the one that is selling the land to Benfica.
I think that was 7R2C.
Yes.
Sponsored by Councilman Gonzalez. Is there a second?
Second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Kelly, I heard first. All right.
Duly noted.
Anybody else want to sponsor something?
Yes.
Oh, all right. Let's move right along there.
7R3A is application acceptance of grant funds for the Safe Streets and Roads for All.
Any questions? Seeing none, next item.
7R4A is professional service contract to provide financial advisory services.
Any questions? Seeing none, next item.
7R5A is exception to public bidding for electronic medical record system.
Questions? Next item.
B is application acceptance of grant funds for the health center program.
Any questions? Next item.
7R6A is professional service contract, the First Amendment to the agreement to provide legal services concerning litigation matters.
Any questions? Next item.
7R8A is a resolution of support for the placement of Juan Pablo Duarte statue in Thomas Silk Park, sponsored by Councilman Quintana, second by Councilman Kelly.
Councilman
Yeah.
Quintana.
Madam Clerk, historic approved, right? It was, they don't have no problems. Just gonna put it on the record, the Historic Commission had no problem with this.
Correct.
The administration has no problem with it. To the statue of Duarte, it's a long time coming. And that community has been waiting. It was supposed to have been put at the Washington Park at the time. Now it's Harriet Tubman Park. And Mr. Paniagua, who's in the audience, has worked on this with Councilman Kelly's staff and our staff. We have worked together with him. This is not just, we met because it's a Westward Park, and we decided that we would work on this together to making sure that the Dominican community would get their day, you know, that kind of respect. So of that statue that is already built with no taxpayers' money, let's put that on record.
Right.
And I just want to say, Paniagua, thank you for your advocacy, working towards this. I want to thank the clerk staff who was very instrumental, and the council, my council colleagues. This is something that will help this area too, and it would helps the city. And promise made, promise kept.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman
Absolutely.
Kelly, then Councilman Gonzalez.
I just want to say thank you to Paniagua for really fighting for this. This has been before my tenure. Thank you to Councilman Quintana for making himself and his staff available to really make sure that we cleared the path and got everything that we needed to make this happen. And more importantly, I want to thank all of the Dominican people around that area in the city of Newark, and our Latinos and Latinas in that area. It's definitely an honor to be a part of something that, you know, Juan Pablo was a writer and an activist, you know, and became a politician. And I think I mirrored him, you know, being a writer, being an activist, and being a politician. So I'm thankful. And just salute to all our Latinos and Latinas, especially those from Dominican Republic.
Thank you. Councilman Gonzalez.
Yes, finally, el padre de la patria dominicana has a house in the city of Newark. I believe it's imperative that we do that. Paniagua has been working on that for like 20 years.
Yes.
Finally, we can say that we have a home for Juan Pablo Duarte. Congratulations to Paniagua and to all the Dominican residents of the city of Newark.
Yes.
Thank you. Anything else? Councilwoman Scott Roundtree.
I just want to say congratulations and to God be the glory for Paniagua, who is a God-fearing man who did not give up, as Councilman Gonzalez did state. He has been on this path for a very, very long time. And we honor you for making sure that not just the Dominican community is aware of such an outstanding figure Juan, but that we ourselves can learn something from you for standing up for our legacy and our activists and individuals who have made a stand in our community, and that means something to our individual communities collectively. So God bless you, and once again, congratulations.
Thank you. Anything else? Anybody? Councilman Ramos.
Yeah, I too want to add my congratulations and special thanks to Santiago. I remember when then Mayor Quintana had the press conference at the, back then it was Military Park, which was the original site for the, I'm sorry, Washington Park was the original site for the statue. And just want to thank Councilman Kelly. I like the idea of the park there on First Street being a site for this statue. So I have a small Juan Pablo Duarte statue at home that Santiago gave me years ago. So now I get to see the real thing. So.
All right. Next item.
7R8B is the Hold Harmless and Indemnification Agreement for the Annual Day of Love Senior Brunch, sponsored by Councilman Ramos.
Second by Councilman Quintana. Any questions, concerns? Nothing? All right. Next item.
C is recognizing and commending resolutions, and D is expressing profound sorrow and regret.
Any questions, comments? Seeing none, next item.
7R9A and B are both professional service contract to provide clinical and forensic psychological consulting services. A is for Keystone Psychological Services, LLC, and B is for Nicole J. Raffanello, PhD.
Any questions, comments? Seeing none, next item.
C is application acceptance of grant funds for the firefighter rapid intervention training.
Any questions? Next item.
7R12A is a change order for solids, floatables, control measures, and netting facilities.
Question? Seeing none, next item.
Communications. Item 8A is an ordinance granting a 30-year tax abatement to 20 Branford Urban Renewal LLC for a project to construct 81 residential units, which shall be comprised of 65 market-rate residential rental units and 16 affordable housing rental units, of which 2 units shall be restricted to tenants at 40% of area median income, AMI. 3 units shall be restricted to tenants at 60% AMI, and 11 units shall be restricted to tenants at 80% AMI in the Central Ward.
Any questions? Seeing none, next item.
B is an ordinance granting a 20-year tax abatement to PGH and Associates Urban Renewal LLC for a project to construct a new 5-story mixed-use building with 20 residential rental units consisting of 16 market-rate residential rental units, 4 affordable housing rental units, of which 1 unit shall be restricted to tenants at 40% of area median income, 1 unit shall be restricted to tenants at 60% of AMI, and 2 units shall be restricted to tenants at 80% AMI in the South Ward.
Any questions, concerns? Seeing none, next item.
C is an ordinance authorizing the Third Amendment to the agreement for the sale of land.
Any questions? Seeing none, next item.
D is an ordinance authorizing the execution of an amended and restated financial agreement in connection with the construction of 18 market-rate residential units.
Any questions? Seeing none, next item.
E is an ordinance assigning the rights and obligations under a 25-year tax abatement, authorizing the execution of a new financial agreement between the city and Rise Rio Urban Renewal LLC in connection with the redevelopment project consisting of 42 market-rate residential units.
Any questions? Next item.
F is an ordinance providing for a special emergency appropriation of $6 million for the preparation and execution of a complete program of revaluation of real property.
Any questions? There was a request to advance and adopt this matter.
Mr. Chair, if the
Councilman Council.
BA can and provide us with information on where we are with reevaluation. I know we started, but just so that those folks that may be listening can,
Sure, great. Good morning, Eric Pennington, Business Administrator, Council President, to Councilman Council's question. The revaluation inspections have begun. The first community meeting after the mayor gave a general community meeting was held in the South Ward. There was a relatively good attendance. I think there were really great questions about what happened. I think what came out of the meeting was to clarify that revaluation is not a tax increase process, and it's an equalization process. And by equalization, it means that over the last 13 years, it was when we had the last reval, there have been property values in certain areas have gone up, and relatively in other parts, property values have gone down. So if there's an increase in property value of $1 somewhere, there's going to be a decrease of $1 somewhere else. And we need to make that clear. You won't know what the tax implications of that are going to be until after the reval is completed, which will take place at the end of 2026, more likely into the first quarter of 2027, and we have determination of what the new budget will be. The new budget will be applied to the new assessed valuation of the properties, which should be at 100% at that point, and that will be the determination as to whether or not there's an actual increase or decrease in your property. I think the ASI, which is the company that is doing the revaluation process, they explained that historically, there are about 1/3 of the properties where there's no real change, even after the budget is adopted. About 1/3 of the properties will have some increase, and it'll depend on the amount of that increase will depend on what the budget is. And about 1/3 of the properties may have some corresponding decrease to what the increase is, again, based on what the budget is. But it's an equalization process, not a tax increase process.
Thank you. Any questions, follow-up? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. BA.
You're welcome.
Mr. President, if I may.
Councilman Gonzalez.
Go back to E. This is amending something that happened in 2020. Is that project completed or is that project in process?
Deputy Mayor?
Deputy Mayor,
Deputy Mayor? 8E on page 35.
Council President, council members.
I don't know if you heard the question, Councilman Gonzalez.
I
can you-
apologize.
It's all right,
yes,
Councilman Gonzalez.
this is amending an ordinance approved in 2020. I just want to know if the project was constructed or we are in the process of constructing it.
Oh, yes. Council President, to Councilmember Gonzalez's question, this is a multi-phase project that's being done. And so the first phase is completed and has been leased up. The units were actually part of the IZO First Dibs in 2024. And so we were excited about that. The reason for the amendments is that the following two phases had to be split due to funding sources. And so we needed to amend the ordinances such that they have been assigned properly. There are no changes to the terms of the tax abatement.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other follow-up? Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you.
We are now in the 30-minute public comment portion of this meeting, where each speaker will have 3 minutes to speak. If you're interested in addressing the council, please state your name for the record. Is there anyone wishing to address the council?
Good morning, George Tillman Jr.
Good morning.
Good morning. I was invited to the Affirmative Action Review Council meeting last week, and I must say that that body is not functioning. There was only 3 members present at this meeting, and no information was available, no paperwork from no construction site no discussion about the compliancy, no discussion at all related to what that board was enacted to do. Only 3 members of 11. So again, when we're talking about the compliancy of the government, that is one very important aspect of the enforcement and monitoring phase. That board was given that. And there's only 3 members at a meeting. Not only was only 3 members there, it was moved off from City Hall by the chairman, by her direction. We were told that the city is not giving that council a conference room in this facility, so the meeting was moved off-site. So that's something that needs to be dealt with. But first and foremost, that commission needs to be uh, um, um, needs appointments to it immediately because they're not attending. She said they have been meeting there for the last 5 months. Can we have some meeting minutes to know what was discussed in those last 5 meetings and what members were there? Mr. Baptiste came there, he gave a report, a verbal report, no paperwork to substantiate any information regarding compliancy. I'm gonna leave at that. This last minute, I want to discuss, the city has in court this week on February the 6th, in front of Judge Grace Spencer, they have a petition before the court to have a special election for the vacant council seat in April at the school board election. I believe that we should have been informed. I am a candidate. We should have been informed in this process. Taxpayer money was spent on this application. This council, I don't know if you're aware of this, this court hearing this week for this special election to be done at the school board election, but this is not doing us any service in the Central Ward to move this election 8 weeks out. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tillman. Additional speakers?
Stay focused. Mayor El Bomani, I just want to say to the people of Newark, ask yourself a question. How can elected officials adequately address the crime in your city when they violate city, state, and federal laws themselves? Just sit back and ponder that. Ask yourself that question, Newarkers. To the city council, to Baraka administration, the blood in these streets is on your hands. The lawlessness, the lawless individuals are out of control because they see you out of control. They see a government of elected officials who support illegal activities when it's to their advantage. We had an administration that hired active gang members and drug traffickers running our rec centers. You seen an administration that covered up crime, the police traffic guy, they covered up that, no press conference. You see individuals who come into this meeting, they sit there and they allow them to violate our First Amendment rights when it's to their advantage. You see the mayor go on All Politics is Local and basically make a death threat to take out one of our community activists, Chairman Africa. Just sit back and ponder and ask yourself, how can these folks adequately address crime when they commit crimes? You see the election campaign, they go out and terrorize, they go to the election polls, they force people, they terrorize our seniors. Just sit back, Newarkers, and ask yourself, Then now you got a governor who just literally said on the news that he's harboring an illegal immigrant in his house. Just ask yourself a question. To the individuals over Doge, the Department of Governmental Efficiency, I just want to say, just stay on them. These political con men have stole, mismanaged, and money laundered enough of our public dollars. Stay on them.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker. Seeing none. Anything, I'm sorry. First of all, anything from the council?
Yeah.
Councilman Ramos.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. President. I just want to state that, I agree with one thing that Mr. Tillman mentioned, and, this council was not aware that the city was in litigation regarding a proposed special election. In the past, I believe those matters came to the council in the form of a resolution that was voted on. No details as far as the costs, who's going to pay for these costs associated with a special election, the timing, right? April's a few months away, and if we do have candidates that are interested, is it enough time for them to submit the petitions necessary to be candidates? And, one thing I have to comment, I read the article and tap into yesterday, and it gives the impression, based on what they reported, that this council is locked and nothing is getting done. That's supposedly what the city's arguing in court. And I would ask the clerk to go back for the last few months and bet you that 90% of the items that appear before us on this agenda get approved. And if you look at prior to us having a vacancy on the council, I would venture to say that a similar percentage of items that came before the council were approved as well. So I don't want the public to have the perception that we can't agree on stuff. We don't agree on everything. We've never agreed on everything. So, I just want to put that on the record.
Thank you, Councilman Ramos. Councilman Quintana.
Yeah. I'm one of those persons that understands the process, because I was in Councilwoman Mildred Crump and I, at the time, the city council at the time passed a resolution that our election would go into May, when the late Revaluation resigned. And at the time, we were told that any election taking place has to have a resolution. The city clerk has to give a resolution to the governing body. This is not an administrative responsibility. This is a responsibility of the city clerk, and no disrespect to her. But knowing the process, because in 1994 and 1993, it wasn't about who was the runner-up. Councilwoman Mildred Crump and I were told by the council at the time that there would be no special, and that the election would go into the May election. When I had won the election and lost by 78 absentee ballots, we both said, look, we'll wait till then. But again, there was a resolution. At the time, the council said they were not going to place any resolution that will incur taxes to the taxpayers. At the time, late Donald Tucker talked about, listen, we're going through a reval. Who's going to pay the election? So again, to read these things, and I think we should have had a meeting prior to this to discuss this matter, because I think this matter should have been discussed with the governing body. We have the responsibility to appropriate this election. The clerk will have to do petition. The petitions will have to be certified. It will incur a lot of work, advertisement, et cetera, et cetera. I would like to know who's going to concur this cost. Is it the taxpayers of the Central Ward? Is it the taxpayers of the city of Newark? Because I was opposed to this because of hearing it. I received the document last week, and I was like, really? This was a decision made. The governing body, should have been brought to an executive session, explain this is what's going on. And as Councilman Ramos indicates, we have listened, we have voted on not whether this council is divided. We have voted for the people's concerns, and we have done so because we didn't get elected just for our own agendas. And then we're not going to do that because the people in the city need our services. Whether it's one ward, we're not going to put the 5 wards of the city one against another. We're 5 wards and 4 at largest, and we want to make sure that we work in that way. So again, I just want to put that on the record that taxpayers cannot absorb more taxes on things that will be taxed. So that's my concern. So I want to put that in place. I think we should have an executive session to talk about this matter after this meeting, to talk so we can hatch out what is it that we're doing. Because I don't know what's going on.
Thank you, Councilman Quintana. Any other council members? I do concur with you, Councilman Quintana, that if we do have any further discussion, it must be an executive session, except for what the Corporation Council is about to say.
That's right.
Obviously, no details of the lawsuit, but
I appreciate it, Councilman. Good morning. City of Newark Corporation Council, Kenyatta Stewart. So there are 2 comments essentially that I want to respond to. The first in reference to the election. So as was commented a few moments ago, there is a active matter pending that's scheduled to go to court tomorrow. I will say that it's probably a best idea that we go into the details of it in executive session. But I will say that for the benefit of the audience here, the city's 2 main priorities is as focus. The first part is to try to do the best we can to make sure the Central Ward has representation. I do know that their staff is still working. The former councilwoman's staff is still actively working, doing the best they can. I do know that some of the council members here have been trying to help out in the Central Ward because you recognize that folks have concerns and have questions and things of that nature. But the representation of the Central Ward is also important to us. And whoever it is, we don't really have a sense of who we want it to be, right? But we know that they need representation. We know they need a voice, someone to be sitting at that seat. The second thing is that we recognize that it will be cheaper for the city if we do it during another election. Right, we have essentially two options. The first one is November, which will essentially almost give it about a year that the seat will be vacant, or we can use the time and opportunity to make it cheaper on the residents because there's already a school board election going on. Any other details, I would like to go into executive session if you all want to kind of get into the thick of it though. The second response I have, I know there was some comments in reference to an officer who was charged as a result of causing a death. I need you all to kind of appreciate the fact that there's a process based on the independent prosecutors legislation that came out about 2 or 3 years ago. The city is not allowed to prosecute someone when an officer is involved with causing someone's death. As a result of that, the independent prosecutor in this situation here is the Essex County Prosecutor's Office, who takes over the investigation. The city has to step aside and let the Essex County Prosecutor's Office do what they have to do. Meanwhile, we also have to be mindful of the fact that we have to be cognizant of the fact that this person is an employee and that person has a process as well. If we violate that process, then that person may be entitled to their job or entitled to a fund of money if we jump over that process. So those are kind of two things that are happening at the same time. After the Essex County Prosecutor's Office conducted their investigation, they then arrested the person or charged the person, and then we then suspended the person. So, there's no way for us to get involved. I know folks said there was a cover-up. That's the last thing that could ever happen in this situation, because more importantly, the law says that the Essex County Prosecutor's Office, or there has to be an independent prosecutor that's involved with that process. Again, I don't want to go into too many details about the substance of the person's status and things of that nature, but I do think it's important for us to recognize and appreciate that there's essentially like a two-pronged process that's happening at the same time, and we let the prosecutor's office do their part, and then after that, we did our part on the administration side. Thank you.
Mr. President, if I may.
Thank you. Councilman Gonzalez.
Yes, regarding, let's say, reappointment or re-election of some, filling a vacancy,
Okay.
can you state what the law says?
So I go into executive session on it. Let's go into executive session on it.
That you can state the law, that I'm asking you what the law
Well,
says.
The reason why I say that is because there's actually 2 points of the law that's going to be a part of the argument tomorrow, and I don't want to tip my hand to the public and, more importantly, to the adversary in reference to what's going on.
I don't see the need to discuss that in executive session, because
I mean-
you are citing the law. I can cite the law. The law says that you either have it appointed by the council within 90 days, or you have to have an election, let's say a general election. So it can be an election in April. It has to be an election either in May that we are elected, or in November when the governor gets elected. That's what the law says.
Councilman, there's actually other parts of the law that we're using that I can address later on. Thank you.
All right, Councilman, Counselor, oh, no, I thought you had something. All right, so, no, well, we'll talk about executive session, but I believe Ms. Gaylord had something to add.
Thank you, Council President and council members. Karen Gaylord, Executive Director, Newark Workforce Development Board. I really just wanted to address the invitation that was extended by the Workforce Board and Newark Works to host the Affirmative Action Review Committee at 375 McCarter Highway, the Newark One Stop. We found ourselves in a position, because of extended hours of service, to be able to do evening sessions, offer a community center to accommodate those meetings. We were also in a position to bring some logistical and administrative support to the committee, as well as some technology support. As a result of that, we were able, not only did they, in my observation, because I did attend the last meeting, minutes were taken, and we were able to record the session and provide the recorded session to the members who participated in that meeting. And hopefully, now that we have a new space with that kind of technology available, they'll be able to do that going forward, to provide an accurate record for everyone. I do want to also add that while I was there, and I was there from the beginning to the end of the meeting, I believe that there were 10 people in attendance. I can't speak to which ones were board members, but I do believe that some members of that advisory committee came perhaps after Mr. Tillman. You can check the record. I know you had to depart because you had a second meeting, but there were some other people there. And I do know that the part of the conversation, the agenda was an administrative agenda for actions going forward to build the agenda for meetings going forward, and that certainly included addressing new members to that board and other supports that could be made available. So I thought it was a pretty robust agenda that went on for 2 hours, and the record is available to Mr. Tillman and others.
Thank you. So I think at this point, unless there's anything else, we probably need to go in executive session. And a motion for executive session.
Council, Gonzalez,
Yes.
Kelly,
Yes.
Quintana, Ramos,
Yes.
Scott Roundtree,
Yes.
Silva,
Yes.
President Crump.
Yes.
Thank you. Go.